are listening to the EPT Works Listen, Love, Give podcast. Hi, I'm Dr. Annette Cargioli, the Forgiveness Doctor. I'm here to help you create phenomenal health, happiness, and new life with energy, intuition, and forgiveness. EPT is short for Emotional Polarity Technique, an innovative, holistic emotional therapy that will change your life for good. You can subscribe to this podcast, get free EPT training at eptworks.com, and like us on Facebook. Did you know that anxiety can be caused by a previous head injury or also a brain injury? This is so important to know when you are trying to help someone who has been suffering from ongoing chronic anxiety. In this podcast, you will learn a simple test that shows if you or your client has an unhealed head brain injury. You'll learn how to use EPT to release the energetic trauma to help speed up the tissue healing. You'll learn how to use a magnet to speed up the healing of the brain. And you will also learn what the best nutritional supplement you can recommend to heal brain injury. I will also have everyone on this call do the simple test I'm going to tell you about, and I'll give each person who tests positive for an unhealed brain injury their specific nutritional protocol and magnet protocol recommendation, including how long it will take, how long they need to do this protocol. I'll also choose one person with an unhealed brain injury to do an EPT session with so you can see how that walks through. First, let's talk about anxiety. Anxiety is a heightened sense of internal nervous unrest. I think we all know what anxiety is. In psychiatric medicine, anxiety is defined as a nervous disorder characterized by a state of excessive uneasiness and apprehension, typically with compulsive behavior or panic attacks. Notice it is described as a nervous disorder. This means that the nervous system is the physical part of you that is out of balance. The nervous system includes your brain and all your nerves branching off the brain, acting as a communication system in your body. When you get scared because there is a stranger watching you from a distance in a dark parking lot, your brain communicates to the rest of your body through the nervous system. Blood rushes from your head to the areas of your body that would support you being able to run if you need to. This is a sort of anxiety response that is structured to save your life in a crisis by shifting physiological reserves to the places in the body that can help you move fast. Because of this type of dramatic shift of blood from the head to the gut and muscles, there is a loss of clarity of thinking. In a dangerous situation, you only need to know to run, running from the bear, so to speak. Creating a well thought out plan of action is not even possible in the moment of anxiety. For people who get stuck in this physiological anxiety mode, it is really hard to think or plan. It makes their ability to get things done easily almost impossible. Think about a moment where a deep-voiced man surprises you and then sternly asks who you are and why you are here. In that moment, you stammer and you can't easily say what you know. This is the way people with anxiety feel most of the time. They have to get through the physical urge to bolt just to have a normal conversation with a safe person. Many of these people resort to taking prescription drugs to calm down the unruly nervous system jitters. For the majority of these anxiety sufferers, emotional polarity technique can stand alone to shift that person into a sustainable, calm, and peaceful state of mind. Those who get stuck in this emotional state of physical anxiety are usually stuck in an old memory of an emotional trauma that continually plays out in their life, even years after it has happened. Most of the time, by releasing the energy of the original emotional trauma memory with EPT, anxiety is greatly reduced or totally eliminated in 7 sessions or less. This podcast is to help you with those anxiety clients who sustained both emotional trauma and head trauma at the same time. A head trauma injury itself can also be an emotional trauma, obviously. If a 3-year-old falls out of a pickup truck on her head onto the asphalt as the truck is turning and the door flies open, that can be both physically and emotionally traumatic for the child. On the other hand, if a child is constantly exposed to dad yelling at mom while they're riding in the truck, that would be specifically emotionally traumatic. No head trauma there, just emotional trauma, and lots of it. That child might grow up to feel anxious riding in cars or trucks. I just want to make the distinction here so you can understand exactly what I'm talking about. Because a head injury, specifically causing brain injury, requires emotional release in addition to time for healing the brain tissue. If a brain trauma happens alongside an emotional trauma, the emotional trauma can prevent the brain trauma from making a full recovery. And any aspect of the emotional trauma that is remembered, conscious or unconscious, keeps the brain tissue in the state of injury from the trauma. So emotional work is critical to the healing of this permanently. However, you can end up in a sort of catch-22. You release the emotional trauma, but the brain injury has not fully healed yet. This lack of complete healing in the brain makes the brain prone to tell the body there is still reason for anxiety or still reason to be anxious. The brain is in charge. The years before the emotional release of this brain trauma have created tons of neural pathways to support this person's anxiety state of being. This is what neuroplasticity of the brain is. If you have a pattern that's playing out, if your brain is stuck in anxiety, in an anxiety mode because of a brain trauma, your brain will continue to create neural pathways to support this state of mind, even after the head trauma. So while you may release the emotional energy from the brain trauma, there is still a healing transformation that must take place within the brain tissue. Otherwise, this unhealed brain trauma, along with the years of neural pathways that were created to support continued anxiety, will keep creating what it has been creating: more anxiety. This explains why some people can't easily release the unremitting anxiety and nervousness, compulsivity, or panic, even though you identify and release every emotional aspect of a physical trauma. They sustain a physical injury to their nervous system's control center, the brain. They have the complexity of an actual physical brain injury that must be healed as quickly as possible to avoid continual chronic anxiety. You must always ask clients who have chronic anxiety, even kids, if they have ever had a head injury. If somebody comes in and sees you, you're going to help them with anxiety. Always ask, have you had any head injuries? And make a note of it. Keep in mind that abrupt whipping of the neck and head, which throws the brain inside the cranial bones, can also cause brain tissue trauma and injury. Dr. Daniel Amen talks a lot about head injury related to behavioral issues in his books. He says you have to ask several times about head injury because people generally don't remember them. Even the really bad head injuries are forgotten quickly once everybody determines that the person who got hurt seems to be okay. No one seems to want to consider that any damage may have been done to their brain. I have definitely found this to be true. Don't be surprised if you ask somebody if they hurt their head 2 or 3 times before they remember or say, oh, you know what? I did hit my head. I fell down a flight of stairs when I was 5. Like, you think they would remember this, but they don't for some strange reason. All right. One of my clients who had severe agoraphobia, she couldn't leave her house without horrible anxiety and panic. She didn't tell me about falling out of a truck on her head when she was 3 until her 4th visit. I asked her on every visit. She wasn't responding to the emotional work as quickly as I would like to see, and she also tested positive for having a head injury when I did this test. So when I saw that she was wobbly on the test I assumed she must have had a head injury. So I was asking about it. Still, it took her 4 visits before she suddenly recalled the head injury. And literally, that's what she said. Oh, wait a minute. I fell out of a truck onto asphalt onto my head when I was 3. A moving truck. And I just was looking at her. How did you forget that? She's like, I don't know. Everybody said I was okay. Maybe it did do damage. Yeah, you couldn't even remember it. But, everybody wanted to forget it because it was a head injury. And we don't want to think that there was some damage done to this child's brain. So every time, however, she remembered every time I asked her, are you sure you haven't had a head injury? And I asked her every time, because I would do that test to see how she was doing. She would shake her head and assure me, no, I haven't had a head injury. So when I took a course with Dr. Amen. He just goes on and on about people do not recall head injuries for some reason. And he told all of us in the class, you need to ask over and over about the head injury. Now, your cue is going to be this test that you're going to be able to do that will tell you there has been some sort of head injury. Whether they remember it or not, it does need correction. And eventually, if you keep asking, they'll tell you about a head injury. That's been my experience. This test for head injury was discovered by Dr. George Goodheart. I'm just name dropping all over the place tonight. We got Dr. Daniel Amen. He does the brain scans. He writes lots of books, a great advocate for brain health. And Dr. George Goodheart is the founder of applied kinesiology. He's the guy way back in the day who pioneered muscle testing and all the applications of muscle testing in discovering health issues existing in the body. So really, we wouldn't have muscle testing if not for Dr. George Goodheart. God rest his soul. It's so simple, yet so useful and accurate. You have the person stand, or if you're there listening now, you can stand and try this. Next, have the person lift one thigh until it is perpendicular to the body. So you're kind of putting your leg out like a table. Your lower leg should be hanging below the knee. Now, you basically are standing on one leg with your thigh raised up like a table. And once you get into that position, then you want to make sure that they can stand this way on one leg without wobbling or falling over for about 15 seconds. You also want to have them close their eyes. So maybe they can do that and you go, now I want you to close your eyes. They need to be able to close their eyes and still stand steady. No wobbling, no grabbing the wall that they might need to stand next to. And you want to test both legs. So here's the test again. You want to stand and you raise one leg while you stand on the one leg, balancing, and your lower leg will be under the knee. So it's kind of like you're holding that leg up like a table. And then you close your eyes as well, and you want to be steady. No wobbling, no shaking, no falling over to the side. Now, Dr. Goodheart would place a glass bottle, because apparently glass is a good conductor of energy, of the standard process supplement RNA. That stands for ribonucleic acid. In the person's hand when they had the wobble or the instability with this test. So they're wobbling and you go, come on, try it. See if you can get it together. See if you can get balanced and get where you're standing steady with this positioning on one leg. And you hand them a bottle. He would hand them a bottle of RNA to hold, and it would immediately allow them to stand without wobbling. George Goodhart was known for putting bottles of pills in people's hands, the correct nutritional supplement, to see if he could strengthen a muscle that he previously found weak. So this was a case where he would literally do this test, this balance test of how they're standing. And if they'd be wobbling, they couldn't stand up, typically only on one side, right or left. It didn't really matter. It's rare that both sides, they can't do it. It'll usually be one side. You hand them, you go, here, hold this bottle of RNA. And I have had more people, immediately they're like, oh, I'm fine. I take the bottle out of their hand, they're wobbling all over the place again. It's remarkable. And it's almost crazy. People will say, what's in that bottle? And the other thing I've done is I have tried other supplements because I've thought, what is it? Maybe they're just holding a glass bottle. It doesn't matter what's in it. But I've handed them, calcium lactate, and they're wobbling everywhere. I hand them hypothalamus, they're wobbling everywhere. I stick an RNA in their hand, and they're solid as a rock. It's a remarkable, repeatable test. So just holding the RNA would support their electrical energy system enough to immediately improve their stability performing this test. Now, by the way, you can contact Standard Process Whole Food Supplement Company online to locate where you can buy RNA or Standard Process products locally. Or if that's too much work, you can buy it through my clinic by calling 317-585-9410. We'll be happy to mail it to you. Now, when I started using this test in my office, I was really amazed at the instant improvement. Before I even started using it, I knew I'd had a head injury from age 10 where I was clobbered in the head with a bat, and it really rang my bell. Now, I was fine. I didn't pass out or anything or didn't have a concussion that we knew of. So I was interested to see if my brain had healed. Well, I couldn't stand on one leg, one side of, there was no way. I was literally falling over, and I was shocked that I couldn't stand on that leg and that I had a brain injury that hadn't healed all those years ago. And I did take the bottle of RNA, and when I held the bottle of RNA, all the wobble went away, which just, again, was very impressive to me. So I actually took 10 RNA for about 4 months. And one of the tests I would do, I'd think, okay, every day I'd take my 10 RNA, in the morning. I'd do this test in front of the pills in my pantry, my pill bottles, thinking maybe I can do it today and I'm done taking the RNA. I don't have to take this anymore. And as long as I had a wobble, I would take my RNA. Well, I did it for like 4 months, and that was several years ago, easily 5 years ago that I went through that healing of my brain using RNA. To this day, I can stand in that position balanced, and I don't take RNA anymore. So that was my own personal experience. So I muscle test to determine how much RNA a person needs to repair the brain injury and how long they need to take it for full recovery. I just want to give them a baseline. 10 RNA for 2 to 3 months would be an average recommendation. However, it varies by individual. I had a lady who needed 10 RNA for 6 months. So make sure you test. So even if I give you a recommendation, if you've got this wobble, just keep taking the RNA, and you can do the test yourself. When it does start to get easier to stand, but if you're still wobbling and you can't close your eyes, you still need the RNA. It's still healing. The lady I mentioned earlier, the one that couldn't remember a fall out of a truck at age 3, she took 10 RNA for 6 months, and she slept on a North Pole magnet under her pillow for that time as well. So North Pole magnet helps to heal trauma injury in tissue and in the body's energy field. So when you have a trauma to the head or any part of the body, your energy field will hold the energy of that trauma outside of your body, kind of reflecting it in and helping to reinforce or hold the injury in place. So when you use a magnet, you actually clean up the energy field as well as helping the body. So you can muscle test to determine how long a person may need to sleep with a North Pole magnet under their head for full brain injury recovery. For anyone on this call right now who failed the test, I'll be happy to test you for RNA, magnet energy, and recovery time for your brain injury. You just need to you'll have to put it in the chat box and I will look at that. So I want to tell you, it's important to know that it can take years after a brain injury for your nervous system to actually start to show the symptoms of a failing brain. This woman who was injured at age 3, she didn't start to experience her severe agoraphobia until she was well into her 30s. And this agoraphobia was triggered by a physical trauma her infant son went through, which is kind of interesting. So she's watching her son go through a trauma, a physical trauma that ended up being something that was medically addressed. And that's when her agoraphobia triggered. So when I did EPT on her, I covered all the aspects of the trauma her son went through. And then I kept finding an original trauma located at age 3. I'm muscle testing. She's telling me, no, I never had a head injury. And I keep going to age 3. So I had no trauma. She wasn't coming up with any story other than the emotions that were associated with, going through some kind of hurt at age 3. She didn't recall. And I walked her through statements based on the emotions we uncovered from age 3. Even before she remembered the fall out of the truck. I put her on RNA on her first visit just based on her wobbly test. I also had her start sleeping on a North Pole energy magnet. Once she remembered the actual age 3 trauma, I was able to release further aspects of that trauma as well. Her improvement went slowly at first, but then escalated by the end of her first month, about 5 sessions. She continued the RNA and magnet therapy for 6 months and fully recovered. She was better before the 6 months, but I told her I would just do it for 6 months. Now, she couldn't stand, but her agoraphobia had improved dramatically. And, this was a pretty big deal, that falling out of a truck on her head on asphalt. So it was just odd because everybody said she was okay, and she really didn't start to demonstrate the weakness in the brain in a way that affected her life and her quality of life until it was triggered by the trauma that she watched her infant son go through. So, okay, I'm going to use muscle testing to determine each person's recommendation. So let's see. So Kim is left ankle, she said, is wobbly. Yep, that's true. And Kathy Reedy felt, oh my goodness. Julie, and there's a couple of people here who flunked on both legs. So I'm just, wow, you people. Sherry, you failed? No way. Okay, so failed both sides. Oh my gosh, I'm going to tell you, RNA is an amazing supplement. And so Kim, you need 10 RNA and let's see, 10 RNA and green magnet, 10 RNA for 3 months for you, Kim, and North Pole magnet under your pillow as well. And then, man, Carla, you failed on both legs. Okay, RNA. All right, Carla, you need 15 RNA a day, and I got that you need to do this for at least 6 months. But again, my recommendation, Carla, I know, has had multiple head injuries through her life, and I would recommend, your test is going to be just stand and try that test when you think, oh, I think I'm doing better, and then see if you wobble. You will notice improvement in the wobble over time, but as long as you're still wobbling, you need the RNA and then North Pole magnet as well. So let's see, getting down my list, Carla. Oh, Bonnie also. Bonnie, you need 12 RNA, 6 months, Bonnie. This is and I'm telling you, I did this and I thought 4 months was just a long time. And I was so sick of taking these. And they're about the size of an aspirin. They're not big pills. But I was like, am I done with my RNA yet? And I knew that I wasn't done because I still couldn't stand on that leg. And I would pick up the bottle of RNA and I'd be steady. And I'd be like, okay, RNA, you're still my friend. I'm going to keep taking you until I've got this cerebellar balance balanced out. The test is you stand up, you balance on one leg, you hold the other leg up like a table so that your thigh is straight out from your leg and your lower leg hangs under your knee. So your one leg is kind of held like it's a table, the other is the leg you're standing on. And then you also close your eyes and you do both legs, you test both legs. And if you have a wobble, if there's any kind of wobble, then it means that you've got some sort of brain injury that has not fully recovered. So that's what it is. Kathy Reedy, 15. Yeah, you need 15 RNA, 3 months, and green magnet under your pillow for 3 months. So oh, wow, wobble. We both wobbled. Okay, so Andrew is 12. Andrew, you're 12 RNA for 6 months. And Curtis, wow, Curtis, you need 16 RNA for like 10 months. So I'm guessing that Curtis has had a bad head injury. Now, you two are twins, and maybe if you haven't had a head injury, maybe it had to do with birth, like a birth injury that was never healed. All right. And oh, both. Okay. So Tassie, born with and had epilepsy for, oh, yeah. So that would have been, you could have Tassie. Could have easily had a brain injury just from having epileptic seizures. So Tassie, you need 15 RNA a day for 6 months and North Pole magnet under your pillow at night. Curtis was hitting the head with a baseball bat. Me too, Curtis! Yay! Yeah. And so, yeah. And let me tell you, I've talked in the past about how amino acid therapy can help with this type of recovery. This has nothing to do with amino acid therapy. It has to do with cell replication of the brain and also the electrical potential of the brain. So it is straight up nutritional supplementation. So when you're taking 15 RNA, you're not going to overdose on anything. It's not a high potency vitamin. It's a whole food supplement. So it's completely safe. You're not going to get a stomach ache from it. It's great. All right. So let's see. I'm looking for, did I cover everybody? Did I tell Sherry? Oh yeah, Sherry, RNA, 1, 2. Sherry, you need 12 RNA for 3 months, 12 a day. And what about Diana? Yeah, fell off the ladder. Yeah, Diana. Oh, Julie needs dosage. So hers is, Julie, you need 15 RNA for 6 months and sleep on a magnet, put a magnet under your head to help basically. Now, here's the thing that's like really critical about the way the brain operates. Now, there's this thing, big fatty word I mentioned called neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity means that what your brain does, it keeps doing. So if it's in a state of anxiety, it gets really good at being anxious. Your brain actually gets good. It develops the ability to be more and more and more anxious. That's neuroplasticity. So you maybe had the head injury when you were 7, but it raised your level of anxiety because of just the emotional trauma of it, but also because there was an injury in the brain. And now the brain you're in this state of anxiety within the brain, and the brain gets really good at making more neural pathways so that you are more anxious. Like you just get good at being anxious. So now you have anxiety that isn't actually the pathways from the injury. It's the pathways the brain created because that's how the brain works. It creates more pathways for what you have so that you're good at it. Whatever it does a lot of, it will create more of, which is amazing. I mean, that can work for you as well. Yes, Carla, you also can use, everybody I would recommend using a North Pole magnet under the pillow. And yes, Julie, it is 15 RNA a day for 6 months. Again, if I'm off on the time, you'll know, because at the end of 6 months, you're going to be going, I can't stand I can't balance yet. So keep taking it. And then I told Diana, I believe, and Andrew, and yes, I think I've covered everybody here. Dylan, yeah. and Bonnie. I did Bonnie and Sherry. Yes, yes. And again, it's not a super expensive supplement. It's easy to take, and it's what George Goodhart recommended. And he's pretty, he's an icon in energy healing. And I have found that recommendation to be incredibly helpful. It totally does cover a base that a lot of people completely forget about because they either don't have symptoms yet, or they're not relating some of the symptoms that aren't getting better to a brain injury, because the brain injury happened so long ago. All right. So do I have anybody to volunteer? Oh, Diana. Oh, I'm sorry, Diana. Did I not tell you? I thought I covered that. Okay, Diana. Yeah, 12. Diana, I get 12. And I'm thinking 4 months. All right. Carla and Kim. Oh, dear. Carla has, I can't fail with Carla because she has so many injuries. So I just have to pick one and we can use it as an example, or we can muscle test through. So Carla, I think I'm going to unmute you and go for it. Let's see, unmute Carla. Yeah. Okay, Carla.
Okay.
So how many head injuries have you had?
Of the ones where I was rendered unconscious, I know of 8, and there's 2 more that I don't really know if I was unconscious or not. So
you've had a ton that were unconscious. So what I'm gonna do with you, this would be overwhelming to a EPT practitioner. Even for me, I could sit here and go, well, let's list all these things, but I'm going to just let the body tell me where I need to go. So in terms of age, so we'll see what is the most important one to start with. But I think about, wow, all that, that injury done to brain tissue. And then, had you realized that neuroplasticity was not your friend, Carla?
Well, I've experienced a life of symptoms, but not really from that understanding until recently.
Yeah.
It a lot recently.
Where there's a point, you have to kind of understand this. It is so fascinating how the brain works this way, that they're learning about this, that there's a point where your brain, some of the anxiety a person may be experiencing is something that their brain actually developed for them, because the brain gets good at what the brain does. So it creates more of what is created. So if she had these head injuries that might have caused anxiety or head pain or disorientation or compulsivity, all of that, on top of it, her brain would go, let's make more of that. And so now you've got this kind of monster growing in addition to just the unhealed brain tissue. So what I believe happens when you start to heal the brain tissue, you make that neuroplasticity or those neural pathways that have been created on top of everything that, you're fighting against to heal. Why is this person still having problems? You are actually, they no longer serve the system that created it. So the injury created this new system, because that's how the neuroplasticity works. Oh, I'll make more of that. And so once you heal that injury, what that injury created is no longer going to be served. So it's really critical to brain health, but it can recover. So I'm going to go to I'm not even going to ask what stage of healing. I'm going to use what age. I'm just going to go to what age is the first place we need to go for full brain recovery. So I'm going to ask conception to birth 5 to 10, age 6. So do you know you did have a head injury at age 6? Do you remember?
Check a bike accident, that one, or falling off the ladder going up into the hay mow.
Is it? It's a bike accident, but you did fall on the hay thing too. So bike accident at age 6. Do you remember it?
No, I have scars on my face though.
Oh my gosh. Is that your first head injury that you're aware of, or are there earlier ones?
That or the latter were the 2 that were the first that I know of. Now there may have been others, but those are the ones that I know something happened, but I don't really remember anything, which makes me think I maybe was unconscious.
Oh yeah. And I'm thinking, so even muscle testing, without talking a whole lot, we went right back to one of the earliest ones that you're aware of.
Yes.
Right. So you just remember the scars? Do you remember the accident?
No.
Wow. Whew. All right. So, but were you okay to get back on a bike after it?
Yes.
Okay. So you don't remember the accident, but you have scars?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. On your face. Okay.
Yes.
So now I'm going to use that how many issues are there, which is kind of, I call it putting it all together in the manual, but it really could be translated. How many issues are there to heal this bike accident at age 6? This bike accident, brain trauma. So I get two issues. So the first one, we're going to say, think of the first one, current self. And it's self, so she's going to think about herself. Oh, good. Fear. Huh. Price, huh? So the first thing is fear. And, I'm going to say that if she remembered the accident, we would have probably broken into chunks, like the pieces she remembered, but she doesn't remember it. So we'll just go with the whole thing. So this is her fear, and it's during the bike accident. Is it after? After the bike accident too. So it's her fear because, I love this. Fear because I like muscle tested, I'm going to die. I also muscle tested, I'm hurt really bad. The one that tested was, I'm going to die. So you were afraid, you were like, you really thought you were outing yourself. I'm going to die. So my fear, is it fear? And then I'm going to muscle test. Is it fear because I'm going to get in trouble? No. Is it fear that, it's not the I'm going to die. So it was in the moment of the trauma. And are there any other emotions? Yeah. Grief, my grief, fear, which makes sense. I mean, kidney, lung, and then any other emotions? No. All right. So I have fear and grief, and this is the first issue. So I need you to say, I forgive myself for believing.
I forgive myself for believing
that I was going to die in the bike accident at age 6.
That I was going to die in the bike accident at age 6.
And then breathe. I forgive myself.
I forgive myself
for feeling fear and grief.
For feeling fear and grief.
And internalizing that fear and grief.
And internalizing that fear and grief.
In my head injury.
In my head injury.
That I'm going to die.
That I'm going to die.
And then breathe. Yeah. I forgive myself for believing.
I forgive myself for believing.
That I still need this fear and grief.
That I still need this fear and grief.
Embedded in this brain injury.
Embedded in this brain injury.
To remind me why.
To remind me why.
I shouldn't feel safe with living.
I shouldn't feel safe with living.
And then breathe. Yeah. I forgive myself for believing.
I forgive myself for believing.
That I still need this fear and grief.
That I still need fear and grief.
Embedded in this brain injury at age 6.
Embedded in this brain injury, age 6.
To remind me why.
To remind me why.
I shouldn't feel safe enjoying life.
I shouldn't feel safe enjoying life.
And doing what I love to do.
And doing what I love to do.
And then breathe. Yeah. I forgive myself for hurting myself.
I forgive myself for hurting myself.
And busting my brain.
And busting my brain.
And breathe. Yeah. I give myself permission.
I give myself permission.
To let go.
To let go.
Of the fear and grief.
Of the fear and grief.
That I'm going to die and that it's not safe for me to do what I love.
That I'm going to die and it's not safe for me to do what I love.
And I am free.
And I am free.
To completely heal this brain trauma.
And I'm free to completely heal this brain trauma.
And then breathe. Oh, that's so good. All right. Mm-hmm. So, without this pattern.
Without this pattern.
I am free.
I am free.
To do what I love.
Do what I love.
To be adventurous.
To be adventurous.
Without reigniting this brain injury.
Without reigniting this brain injury.
And then breathe. So she would reignite the brain injury because it would show up to remind her, don't do that. You'll have a brain injury. That's why. in case you're wondering, what the heck does that mean? Okay, so second one. The second issue is grief, my grief with myself. So this is still surrounding the bike accident. So this is a grief for a different reason. The first one was I'm going to die. This one is I feel grief about the bike accident because it's my fault. My grief because I'm going to be in trouble. Now the grief shows up. The fear, it was grief that I'll be in trouble, not fear and grief, which was what we got before. So this is I'll get in trouble. I'm writing it down. I'll get in trouble. You poor thing. I'm bleeding everywhere. My clothes are all stained. Oh, I hate those 6-year-old accidents. Okay, any other emotions? No. So I forgive myself for believing.
I forgive myself for believing.
That I have to feel grief.
That I have to feel grief.
With this trauma.
With this trauma.
This head trauma.
This head trauma.
Because I'm going to get in trouble.
Because I'm going to get in trouble.
And then breathe. I forgive myself for believing I need to hold onto this grief and this brain injury.
I forgive myself for believing I need to hold on to this grief and this brain injury.
So they'll go easy on me.
So they'll go easy on me.
I won't get in trouble.
I won't get in trouble.
I won't get blamed.
I won't get blamed.
They'll feel sorry for me.
They'll feel sorry.
And they won't yell.
And they won't yell.
And then breathe. Oh, that's so good. All right.
Oh, yeah, that was
I love and accept myself.
I love and accept myself.
Even though I have used this brain injury.
I have used this brain injury.
And the grief embedded in it.
And the grief embedded in it.
As a source of power.
As a source of power.
To keep people from hurting me.
Keep people from hurting me.
And then breathe. Yeah. Aw. I forgive myself for believing.
I forgive myself for believing.
I have to be perfect and get everything right.
I have to be perfect and get everything right.
Or I'm not safe with people.
Or I'm not safe with people.
I'll get in trouble.
I'll get in trouble.
And I'll never get to do anything fun again.
And I'll never get to do anything fun again.
And then breathe. Yeah. I forgive myself.
I forgive myself.
For believing.
For believing.
This grief embedded in this brain injury.
This grief embedded in this brain injury.
Is the only reason I didn't get in trouble.
The only reason I didn't get in trouble.
And then breathe. I give myself permission.
I give myself permission.
To accept.
To accept.
I didn't have to be broken.
I didn't have to be broken.
To be valued.
To be valued.
And protected and loved.
And protected and loved.
And important.
And important.
To my mom.
To my mom.
Or my dad or anyone else.
Or my dad or anyone else.
And then breathe. Even though I believed.
Even though I believed.
That I showed love and loyalty to my family.
That I showed love and loyalty to my family.
Even though I used this brain injury.
Even though I used this brain injury.
To show loyalty to my family.
To show loyalty to my family.
To show that I paid for not being perfect.
To show that I paid for not being perfect.
There were better ways I could have shown love and loyalty.
There are better ways that I could have showed love and loyalty.
And then breathe. Yeah. I say yes.
I say yes.
To all this grief embedded in my brain injuries.
To all this grief embedded in my brain injuries.
And I call them up.
And I call them up.
All this grief.
All this grief.
And trauma.
And trauma.
And brokenness.
And brokenness.
And I release it.
And I release it.
From my body, mind, and spirit.
from my body, mind, and spirit.
And then breathe. Without this grief.
Without this grief.
I am free.
I am free.
To have fun in life.
To have fun in life.
To do what I really love.
To do what I really love.
Even if I'm not perfect and I screw things up.
Even if I'm not perfect and I screw things up.
Or I make a mess.
Or I make a mess.
And my family.
And my family.
Stays.
And my family stays.
They still love me.
They still love me.
And then breathe. Wow, so much is moving right now.
Oh, it feels good though.
It's so nice. Without this pattern, I can stop showing up with a head injury.
Without this pattern, I can stop showing up with a head injury.
To show my love and loyalty to people who expect me to be perfect.
To show my love and loyalty to people who expect me to be perfect.
And then breathe.
Where I had the head injury.
Yeah.
That whole part of my head is like throbbing and.
Oh, yay! So
stuff's moving around.
Stuff's moving.
Uh-huh.
Wow. So I told you 15 RNA, right?
Right.
So, yeah, that's the same. I thought maybe it went down. No, you still need it, but I would test that. I would test that. So let me ask about any other on the bike accident. Wow. Oh, that was so good. Wow. Thank you for being such an awesome example. And
thank you for the opportunity.
That is
this is exciting.
And I've done enough with you that I see so many overlays of some of the things of your own life and your occupation, your career, and the things you do to make money and all of that. That is, just doing what you love as you've been working on getting there and really feeling good about it. And feeling safe,
Yeah.
Like I don't have to have a head injury anymore. Wow. That is fantastic.
All right. Fantastic. Thank you.
You are welcome. Let me finish this real quick. I think I've got some ending. Yes. All right. So if you have anxiety that has failed to respond to energy work, maybe you have an unhealed brain injury. That tissue is in there needing to be healed. I'm sharing this information to help you to create a more fulfilled life, free of anxiety and fear. May you believe there is a God who loves you and wants to heal all parts of you. May you find the path to your own healing in ways that bring you closer and closer to the one who made you. May you find peace in accepting the love that you are, that you always have been, and that you always will be. As always, you can subscribe to this podcast, like us on Facebook, and go get your free training at eptworks.com. I'm Dr. Annette Cargioli, the Forgiveness Doctor. Until next time, listen, love, give. EPT works.